tactical nuclear weapons in South Korea. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis acknowledged Monday that his South Korean counterpart inquired recently about reintroducing tactical nuclear weapons on the Korean peninsula, a move that could take tensions with North Korea to a new high. Mattis, speaking to reporters at the Pentagon, confirmed that he and Defense Minister Song Young-moo discussed the weapons during an August 30 visit in Washington. The Pentagon chief did not say whether he'd support such an idea. However, Song has advocated for the move, calling it an alternative worth a full review. Asked about the exchange, Mattis said that we discussed the option, but he declined to elaborate. We have open dialogue with our allies on any issue they want to bring up, Mattis said. The United States maintained nuclear weapons in South Korea during much of the Cold War, but President George Bush ordered their removal after the Soviet Union's fall in 1991. At the time, Bush saw it as a way of bolstering demands that North Korea not pursue its own nuclear weapons. South Korean President Moon Jae-in has said several times that he is against the return of nuclear weapons, but he faces opposition on that point from many conservative leaders in his country. Tactical nuclear weapons, sometimes called non-strategic nukes, are designed to strike military targets such as bunkers and tunnels but are still considered immensely powerful in their own right and a potential gateway to larger nuclear attacks. Some senior U.S. military officials, such as Air Force General Paul J. Selva, vice chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, have advocated generally for more small-yield nuclear weapons, arguing that the United States needs the ability to respond to an attack using a smaller nuclear bomb with something of similar size. But Air Force General John Hyten, who oversees U.S. nuclear weapons as the chief of U.S. Strategic Command, took exception Thursday to calling even smaller nuclear weapons tactical. Speaking with reporters at his headquarters in Nebraska, he called the phrase a misnomer and actually a very dangerous term because there are significant consequences to using nuclear weapons in any format. To call it a tactical weapon brings into the possibility that there could be a nuclear weapon employed on a battlefield for a tactical effect, Hyten said. It's not a tactical effect, and if somebody employs what is a non-strategic or tactical nuclear weapon, the United States will respond strategically, not tactically, because they have now crossed a line that has not been crossed since 1945. Mattis said last week that he would not discuss whether he is looking at reintroducing nuclear weapons in South Korea. It's simply a long-standing policy so the enemy or adversaries never know where they're at, he said. It's part of the deterrent that they cannot target them all. There's always a great big question mark. Publish in www.washingtonpost.com.
Thank you very much. During our visit, President Xi pledged to faithfully implement United Nations Security Council resolutions on North Korea and to use his great economic influence over the regime to achieve our common goal of a denuclearized Korean peninsula. President Xi recognizes that a nuclear North Korea is a grave threat to China, and we agree that we would not accept a so-called freeze-for-freeze agreement like those that have consistently failed in the past. We made that time is running out, and we made it clear. And all options remain on the table.
They further develop their nuclear capabilities. A high-level Chinese envoy has now been holding talks with North Korea on its nuclear program, a move that President Trump has hailed as positive for diplomacy. For more insight on this, I want to bring in Fox News foreign policy analyst, Kyron Skinner. Good afternoon, Kyron. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me.
So, big picture here. Do you think that the president's Asia tour helped America's standing on the global stage or hurt it, or do we come out sort of neutral?
I'm of two minds. I believe that the diplomatic offensive that the president's been on in 2017
all clear. Showing 20K per aircraft, so you want 10K and then switch? Right. Go ahead. Disconnect. Back now. Hold on.
Just the Chinese media, but even North Korea's state-operated news media reported the meeting as the top story. Song Tao, the Chinese special envoy to Pyongyang, met with Choi Dong-hae, a senior official of the regime, on Friday. According to Korean Central News Agency's Saturday report, Song asserted that it's the Communist Party of China's stance to, quote, steadily develop the traditional friendly relations between the two parties and countries. The report added that Song conveyed a gift for Kim Jong-un to Choi. And while nothing is confirmed, diplomatic sources say the Chinese envoy may meet with the North Korean leader during his trip to deliver President Xi Jinping's personal letter. Song's visit to Pyongyang comes amid tense relations between the two traditional allies over North Korea's continued nuclear and missile provocations. On paper, the Chinese government says the objective of the Chinese envoy's visit to North Korea is to inform the North of the outcome of the recent Party Congress of the CPC, which cemented President Xi's reign over the next 5 years.